got a friend in me.
You got a friend in me. When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed,
You just remember what your old pal said. Boy, you got a friend in me.
Martin House recognizes the importance of families, and we're really happy to have you here today. Could you please introduce yourselves to us?
My name is Lori Skelton, and I am Jim's older sister.
I'm James Young, Lori's sister. To the left of me is my mom.
My name is Andrea Young.
Welcome, welcome. So today we're going to listen to what you have to say about families and families who have the experience of having a person who has a mental illness, and what's that like for you? And so we'd like to hear more about that. Who would like to start?
Gloria, Mom.
I would have to say, I can start. I would have to say the mental illness part of Jim's disabilities are like newer to us. So we're still learning about Jim in his new role here at the Martin House. How long have you been here, Jim?
Almost 5 years.
Almost 5 years.
Over 4 years.
But through the years, we didn't really look at Jim as having a mental illness until he hit a big bump in the road 5 years ago. And so becoming familiar with SMA and with Jim's mental disabilities has been newer to us, and it was a real learning curve right from the start, like that summer that he started having problems and was able to get adjusted on meds and get comfortable here at the Martin House.
Yeah, as Jim grew up, he was being treated for ADHD, and that's all we knew. There was no other diagnosis. And then after high school, and I think you were 25, 26, Jimmy? How old were you when you went to Vista?
27.
He went to
23
Vista.
20 years ago.
Right.
But he did have,
And what?
but just to interject, before that, Jim did have a mental disability diagnosis of borderline schizophrenia, which we really didn't see the typical schizophrenia symptoms. I think Jim, he was diagnosed with ADHD, but I think it was early in the game for autism diagnoses, and so I think looking at Jim and his behaviors, he presented more as somebody on the autistic spectrum with a lower IQ.
Which they didn't have that diagnosis back then.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have, autism wasn't a word then.
Mm-hmm.
A diagnosis.
Right. Jim finished high school in the mid 80s, and autism, as you know, wasn't really a term used until the mid 90s. So we didn't really look at Jim as somebody with a mental disability at that point, even though the doctor did use the term borderline schizophrenic, and he was prescribed medicine
Which
at
he
that
never
time.
took.
But it was always an issue with getting Jim to take his meds.
So in the world of recovery, labels are really not that important, and it sounds to me like they're not important to you
No.
either.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about what it's like for you as mom and sister to support Jim with his needs as an adult, whatever special needs he might have.
Let's start. Gloria, Mom.
Do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
When I look at Jim, I want to look at him as a sibling and as an independent adult, just like my siblings and I are. Our parents raised us and to be as productive citizens, or and to do things to the best of our ability. And I think it's important for Jim to play that role too, to the best of his ability. I don't know if I'm answering the question.
I think you answered it perfectly. Yeah.
And family is very important to Jimmy, very important, and he loves to take part in any family
I do.
activities. I mean, he's just a Jimmy to all the cousins and all that. He's just
Right.
cousin Jim.
And he's known as James here at the Martin
Yeah.
House. That's something that he chose. We never, throughout the years, we always referred to him as Jimmy, and then Jim. As he was approaching more like 30, we started crossing over to Jim. But now, since he's been here at the Martin House, he likes to be referred to as James. So
And why do
that's
you want
like
to be called Jim, the James?
That's my name. That's my name.
Yeah.
On the door. On my door.
Yep.
James, tell us a little bit about what it is that you like about your life right now,
Here,
here or anywhere.
I like it better than, I like, because people, I love it here.
And is there something
Because of the,
specific that you really love?
I was kind of nervous when I first came here. I was nervous. I was scared about other people. I came to other pro I came to Westbrook, same thing. They were always like the bully rule. They used to always bully me and stuff. You never had the bully rule at other program. I love it here.
So when you came, you weren't so sure if it was going to be the right home for you or not.
Yeah, like the other program.
And what made you start thinking that maybe this is my home? What is it that happened?
Should I say?
Well, did you get friends here, and you found out that they were good to you?
Yeah, they're good to me. I made more friends. And some people that came here before me, I made friends. I'm always saying hi to them. I'm always talking to them.
I think too, like for us as typical people, change is always hard for us. But with somebody with a mental disability or developmental disability, it's that much harder for them. And the fact that Jim was not taking his meds and his real mental disability came shining through in negative ways at that point, I don't think Jim really knew like the repercussions of his actions from not taking his medicine and the turmoil he was creating and getting kicked out of the other program. And just coming to a new place was so hard for him. And I remember, like, please don't kick him out. Please give him, he needed that gift of time of getting adjusted to some place where he was made accountable for taking his meds.
Yep.
So that he could be, like, his behavior would become more consistent, and it would help him to make the right decisions. Because there were a lot of wrong decisions when you first got here because he wasn't stabilized. And so I think just that gift of time just has let Jim become more and more and more comfortable here, and he really considers the Martin House his home now. And that's like thanks to you guys.
What kinds of services were you looking for James before you even knew about Martin House or other services? What were you looking for?
Some place where Jimmy could have friends and live in the world.
Be safe.
Be safe, right. Because when he was living at home, it was like, my husband and I said, he can't just be with us forever. And that's why we started looking, and we found this other
To
program.
different places on the campus here.
Well, that was
Moved
5
to
years
different
ago.
places.
Yeah, but even going back, Jimmy, like 20 years ago, I mean, he was socially isolated because he didn't have a peer group. And then when he went to the other program for a number of years, he was able to build some friendships, but even that living situation, he was living alone, which was not successful. But that was also socially isolating. So to come to a place like the Martin House, we were really looking and looking. There's not many nonprofits or even state organizations. We looked and we looked and we looked and we asked, and there were not a lot of options for somebody like Jim. He has a 71 IQ, so he never qualified for DSS, for like group home situations. So we really had to think of like what would be the right fit. And so When he was living by himself, it wasn't a safe atmosphere. He wasn't taking his medication, and just using the stove, and there was a couple of unsafe situations. So we felt like he really needed a place where there were people that he could be surrounded by, but then have his own space when he needed it, because he has a generalized anxiety disorder, so he does need time by himself. But he needed to become more comfortable to get out there with people, to have the meals provided for him, and to be accountable for taking his meds every day. So I think the Martin House just offered all that. And then with Nancy, he gets out into the community, and with Katrina, and he gets to go out into the community and be a typical member of the community,
Right,
by
and he's got-
swimming and going to events. And
He's got responsibilities too, to keep his room clean and to do his wash, and he's just got his regular routine. He takes a shower every day.
Meals.
Yeah.
Jim, can you tell us some of the activities that you're now participating in out in the community? Where when you first came here, you were afraid pretty much to come out of your room. What are you doing now? What are the fun things that you're doing out in the community?
With Nancy,
what are you doing Mondays and Wednesdays?
I go out. I go for a ride with Nancy Monday twice a day. Then Wednesday and Tuesday I go sometimes I go for rides, and people go fishing. Then on Wednesday I go swimming, and I go cooking class up the hill. I go to in Plainfield. I go to town hall, go swimming. And on Monday we decide where we're going for walks.
And you go rock the docks, right, on
The
Wednesday?
docks on Wednesday night, 6 to 8, in Norwich,
And what do you do in the wintertime? Where do you take the bus to?
to sport games,
At NFA.
NFA.
He's an avid sports fan, so
Everybody knows that.
we've
A lot of
made
people know
a-
that. Manny knows that. People know that. Like Ray Sean know that. I'm a sports fan. A lot of students know that too.
And it's
So,
important for him to get around, and he learned how to transfer the bus, to get to the
People
game.
do it on their own. Have
Yeah.
to take the
So-
bus to work and stuff, and go buy stuff at the Martin House.
and speaking of sports, every year I email the athletic director at NFA, and he gets a free sports pass. So that's when he takes the bus, and he has to. The bus
Can
only
you-
goes
can
so
you get
far,
passes?
so then he
That's
has
to
to
Stop and
find his
Shop.
way to NFA, and that gives him a sense of independence, and he gets to do
Independent,
something
they know
that
how
he
to
really
take the
likes.
bus. How to take the bus. Where to wait for the bus.
James, is there anything that you would change about your day-to-day life now? Something that you're not doing that you would like to do?
No.
You,
What would I do?
Maybe work.
would you like to work?
That would be a big thing. That would be big.
I get out and stuff, Mom. I get out.
Right.
We've tried, but haven't been successful in working with BRS to get Jim a part-time job. And I know with budget cutbacks and just some of, it was hard for Jim to work with a job coach, the last experience he had with BRS a few years ago. So that's something that I think would be good for Jim. I don't know if Jim's thinks the same thing, but
No.
that would be a nice.
I don't think the same way. The way you do. Or,
So work, not so much. Lori and Andrea, what would you say to other families about if, they're sort of at the beginning of the process with their family member, where they're looking for support and to have their family member live a happy life. I love that smile that's going on right now.
Oh, me too.
I'm just loving that
Yeah.
smile.
I think Martin House as a family, I think Jimmy considers it a family with the employees. I mean, he knows everyone, and it's a small place, and it makes him feel comfortable. And I just think Martin House, we are so blessed that we found Martin House, really.
So what would you say to families just starting out, because you've been doing this a long time?
Oh, I know.
Five,
it's-
no
I
more
know,
than 4
go.
years.
You have expertise.
Yeah, no, they've, I don't know what to say. It's been a long journey for us, but to have found Martin House and just, I mean, we went through a lot, and how many years, it went through a lot. But now that he's found Martin House, and I think living here is perfect for him.
Great.
I think
But-
too, just to add to that, I just think like advocating for your loved
Oh,
one.
right.
Because I think families initially, they know their family member best, and to advocate for what they need and to be willing to really work with, like you guys, and just communicate like what their family member needs, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and just be open to ideas that you suggest, because then you get to know him on a different level than we know him, because he's living on his own here. So you get to know him in a different way. So just, I think especially probably for moms, just letting go a little bit and trusting that, like, that this is your area of expertise, and to work with you guys instead of just trying to, have it your way or whatever, the way you see it as a family member.
I think it makes it so much better for us at Martin House when families are involved, and it works out. It's a win-win situation. The family gets to be a family. We at Martin House get to provide the supports that we know how to provide, and most of all, James gets to be a happy, productive adult in our society.
Yeah.
So in closing, is there anything any of you would like to say?
I would just like to say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For being patient. I know it was a long few months when we first started out, and we really didn't know where Jim would go if he left here, if he wasn't able to come here. So we're just always happy to hear that he is thriving here and is happy, and that he does look like this as home, and you guys and all the people here as his family.
And that's the biggest thing, him being happy. I mean, seeing a smile on his face. I mean, he's just happy, and he's getting so socially adaptive now. And it's great to see, yeah, love to see your smile.
Boy, too.
To get up and give speeches at
Well, you guys
universities.
smile too. You guys smile.
Yeah.
We've actually gotten him to do something else. On Friday mornings, we have Rockin' Friday.
But you got to have been here. You haven't been.
When I
She's
am
been doing
here.
it. She's been running it.
Yeah.
But
She's been running it. It's doing the music stuff, starting the music.
But when we first started Rockin' Friday, you would walk through and just sort of look. And now what are you doing?
When I first came here, I wouldn't go out with Nancy and do things. A lot of students, I wouldn't do things.
But what are you doing at Rockin' Friday now?
I'm dancing.
And that rock
You
the
haven't
dogs.
been here. You've been here on Friday, so you haven't been doing the dancing.
It looks
You
like
call,
you're
I've been
interested
here.
in her being at the next Rockin' Friday, so you can dance with her. What do you think?
Right.
Well, we danced at Rock the Docks too.
Yes, rock
In the
the
morning,
dogs.
9
Yes.
o'clock in the morning.
We did.
Yeah.
Like a half hour or less.
Well, thank you for coming, and hopefully you'll come again
We
and
would love to come back.
give us more
We would
feedback.
love to help if other families have any questions.
Right.
And we have a great relationship with Nancy, who we're so grateful to for taking Jim like every
Monday.
week to the things that he likes to go to.
And Nancy is his case manager.
His case manager, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Case manager, yep.
Yeah. They have a great relationship.
Well, thank you so much, all of you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. Today we have Teresa here with us, who is going to speak a little bit about her family.
What I have to say about my family was, in my family, there was a tendency for mental illness on my father's side of the family. We were mostly mentally ill. And I remember when I was 18, my mom was was talking to Dad about putting me in the state hospital. He said, absolutely not. She's going to have to make it without them. Because he saw the horror of the terrible things that happened in the 60s. So he saved my butt. Because by the time I had developed mental illness, all the good places were built. Am I talking loud enough? All the good places were built. And I got very, very good care. I spent a lot of years away from my family because I didn't know what was wrong. They didn't know what was wrong. Nobody could explain anything. And my sister gave me a really wonderful compliment. She said, you know, with what you've had to deal with in your life, you really made a success out of it. You really worked hard to make yourself a decent life. Which I will add, I owe to Paul and Lori sometimes. I just thought I'd throw that in there. But she said you should really give yourself credit that you made it through all of that. I'm talking about years of wandering from place to place. And now I'm on very good terms with my family. We're having much better relationships than we have had in years. I went to a picnic the other day and it was just wonderful. And I hadn't attended a family picnic for many, many years and it was just wonderful. And boy did I peek out. So, and there's other things coming up, holidays and all kinds of things. My brother, oh yes, that's right. My sister had her first grandchild. And this beautiful little baby girl, Kylie Ann, and just all of those things. I need to hold a baby in my arm after so many years of not. It just got to me, you know. So, but my family is a large family. We're spread out all over the United States, and so I'm keeping in touch with them. I'm calling them and spending time with them. So it's getting much better now, and I'm more able to explain myself the way I was back then. When I was first diagnosed, they said I had regressed to the age of a 7-year-old. And so I didn't know what that meant. My family didn't know what that meant, but it meant that I had a child's mind. And when I went out into the world, holy mackerel, I got roughed up quite a bit. But by the help of so many people at Martin House and my family, I made it through. I had excellent counselors. I love the SMA program. That's really good up there. We go to groups up there. So, and I have to put in a good word for Martin House at this point because you have a school teacher down there educating us. And I told her today, you know, every time I go to your group, I feel like I'm in a class and I feel like I'm being educated. She is teaching and I'm being educated. And that's one of the best things you have among so many other things. And I had to add that in. So, but it's just I can't think of enough to say that my family and I are getting along well and things are going well. And I just have so much gratitude for everything. And I tell people I'm having the attitude of gratitude, you know, and so.
Today we have Charles with us.
I've been at Martin House now for 8 years and I found it very supportive to my needs. I'm basically allowed to pursue my own goals and I've found it very helpful in that. Hopefully I'm getting better and more capable to eventually move into the community. I have part-time work, but I also pursue my own studies. And Martin House is a stage in that. I've been doing it now for many years. And hopefully that will be fruition.
What would you say to other people who might be looking for a supportive environment?
I would say that you can, in many respects, you can get what you need here. And you get more than that, you get things that you want also. And I think that's important too.
Is there something you would change about Martin House?
I think more trips maybe.
Okay.
More community activities I think would be enjoyable and helpful. I know that I tend to be isolated and I could use more activity in the community. I work in the community part-time.
And what do you do, Charles, for work?
Okay, I work at the Salvation Army. I help with the food bank there. So it's busy a few days a week, and it's always what we need it. So.
That's great. So you see people in all kinds of different situations.
Yes, all kinds of different people too. Not everybody who enjoys the services of the food bank is grateful or even as needy perhaps, but many there are who are, and it's gratifying to serve them.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've been at this for about 6 months now. Before that, I worked at the soup kitchen, St. Vincent de Paul place in Norwich, and that was also gratifying. I enjoyed that.
And you held that position for some time?
Several years.
Well, thank you for sharing. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I'm having a reasonable good time. Thank you.
Great, you're welcome.
Thank you for being with us today.
You got a friend in me.
Yeah, you got